everyone, this is Rose from Jewelry Designs by Rose. I am going to show you today how to make a bracelet with a chain and amethyst beads, as well as some Austrian crystals and sterling silver chain. I'm using this sterling silver chain. I'm using a sterling silver wire as well. And I'm going to do some wire wrapping. And the first thing that I need to do is measure out, how long I want this to be. And then I'll put a clasp on the ends here. So I'm just going to measure it around my arm, get it approximately the size of my arm, and then kind of center the stones like where I want them to be on my wrist, and then add the Austrian crystals and kind of estimate where I'm going to cut the chain so that I can wire wrap them between. And so I'm just setting these up right now to just kind of get like an idea of where that would be. So if I put it towards the middle, the halfway point, then I know that the middle will be approximately where I want the center stone to be. So you could cut it there and start by putting in the center bead. The other way that you could do that is just kind of do the first one on the left hand side and then cut the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the chain. It has some long links and some little circle links in between each one. And so basically I'm going to cut little circle link chain, and I'm just going to kind of push it outwards so that I can see it easily and cut it off without cutting the other links on the chain. So I'm going to cut that one off first, as I'm showing you here. And then I'm going to wire wrap that piece. And so I'm going to measure out here about 3.5 to 4 inches. And I'm just cleaning off the wire first with my cloth. This is like a silver cloth, cleaning cloth. And then you want to straighten out the wire. So you could do this in a couple different ways. You can get it pretty straight using your hands, but it's a lot easier. This is kind of a half hard wire, so I'm going to use my coated pliers to stretch this and straighten it out. So I'm going to straighten this out with the rubber nose pliers in my hands. What I like to do is use my pliers to hold it on one side, my flat nose pliers, and then I'm going to take the round nose pliers about 1/3 of the way down from the wire, and I'm going to wrap it around all the way so it makes a circle. And then I'm going to bend the wire back. Let me get this into frame here. So I'm going to take the inside wire and bend it back so that it straightens the circle. So I'm just straightening it out with the chain nose pliers. And then I'm going to use the chain nose pliers. Sorry, I'm a little out of frame here. It looks like I cut myself on something earlier, something I was moving. So I'm just trying to get the circle to be a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to bend the inside of the circle just over slightly to even it out So that kind of straightened it so it's straight up and down. And then I'm going to hold it with the chain nose pliers, and then you're going to use another pair of chain nose pliers or flat nose pliers to wrap it around. But first you want to put on the end of the chain into the loop, and then hold that with your chain nose pliers, and that way you won't bend the chain. And then get another pair of pliers and start to do the wire wrap around. And I usually go 2 or 3 times around, because it's usually 3 times is usually about the right amount when you do the other side. But totally up to you. And then you're going to cut off that extra chain, and then you're going to use the chain nose pliers to tuck that extra wire that's sticking out so that it doesn't scratch or stick out so it doesn't scratch your skin. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of straightening it, making sure it's nice and tight all around. And then once I have that completed, once I know there's no pieces sticking out at all, then I'm going to straighten it a little more. And then I'm going to start adding my Austrian crystal, and then I have a sterling silver bead. I have to get a couple of those beads, so give me just a second here. And I'm going to get those out. These beads that I got, I'm not sure where these particular ones came from. I think I ordered them on Etsy, and they're 1.5 millimeters, which is a lot smaller than I normally use, and they just aren't as nice as what I normally get. I usually use a wholesaler, and I've been using him for 20 years now, and he always has really good quality sterling silver. And so I'll probably go back. Actually, I don't know why I always say he, but it's a Jamal Trading Company. They're down in Los Angeles area somewhere. And here's some of the bead caps that I bought from him. And so I will put that information down in the comment section for you if you have a wholesale license or a reseller's permit and you are looking for a sterling to silver vendor. He's really good, and he's got really good prices for wholesale. So I'm just going to put on now the sterling silver bead, and then the amethyst stone, and then another silver bead and an Austrian crystal bead in a dark, deep purple color. And then I am going to do the second half of the wire wrap here. So I'm going to take the flat nose pliers and then bend back, and that leaves a little bit of space for where I'm going to wrap the wire. And then I'm going to wrap the top of this wire around the round nose pliers until I get a nice good circle here. And I'm using a 20 gauge wire, so it's a little bit thicker. And then you're going to put on the chain once you have the circle. And again, you're going to use the flat nose pliers to hold on to it. And then you'll use the other pliers to start wrapping. Now, if you have really soft wire, you probably don't need the pliers, but I am using it because I have a half hard wire, which I kind of like. It's a little bit more sturdy and it stays better for the circle part of it. So I'm just wire wrapping this around, and then I'm going to cut off the extra piece and then use my chain nose pliers to tuck that in, and be careful not to get too close to the crystal because you might break the crystals. So just make sure that you tuck that extra piece in real good. And then you have your first piece, and it's going to look really, really nice. Yep. And then I'm just kind of measuring where that's going to be. And I'm going to estimate that it's going to be right about 3 of these longer pieces that I want. So I'm going to take it at that little tiny bead, circle bead in the middle. So again, I'm just pushing out that little tiny circle link, the little round link that's in between. I'm kind of pushing it up and holding the 2 larger pieces so that they stay kind of out of the way, and it kind of pushes up the little round circle link. And then once I can get it easy access to it, then I'm going to just cut off that piece. And see, I kind of grabbed it with the, sorry, I'm a little bit out of frame here. And then I'm going to just cut that link off. So I have 3 little links of silver chain, and then I'm going to do another wire wrap. So again, I'm going to use approximately a 3.5 to 4 inch in length. And what I normally do to measure that is I just open the wire, put it next to it, and measure about 1 inch to 1.5 inches longer. Here it looks a little bit more like 2 inches. If you're just starting out, I would definitely use more and practice with a regular wire. Don't practice with sterling silver because you don't want to waste. It's kind of expensive, so you don't want to waste any of your sterling silver good wire. So again, I'm using the flat nose pliers to hold it on one end. And I'm going to slowly use this on the other end. If you go too fast, as you can see, it will curl it just like a piece of ribbon. So you want to go a little bit slower than that and see how it gets a little bit straighter. So you want to go slow when you're pulling it through the rubber pliers. And then once you get it nice, again, you're going to go about 1/3 of the way down to make the loop, and you're going to curl it into get it all the way around the pliers and pull it nice and tight so it gets a nice round. I'm just pulling it on each side to just make it sure that it's nice and round. And then after that, you're going to bend it back by putting the chain nose pliers on the inside bottom of the circle to make it straight up and down. And then you're going to start the wire wrap. But before you start the wire wrap, you're going to want to put the chain on. So don't forget to put the chain on here. Okay, before I wire this, before I go around, I have to first put on my chain. So before you do that, let's put on the chain before you start wrapping. And so I'm just going to add the chain really fast. And then I'm going to start wrapping it. And I like to go around again 2 to 3 times. It looks really nice. It looks finished when you have a nice wire wrap. And then cut off the end close as you can. And then tuck in that little tiny piece that's sticking out. The closer you can cut it to the wire, the better, because it'll tuck in a lot easier and it won't stick out. And then I just kind of reshape it so that it looks straight up and down. And sometimes you have to adjust it if it's not looking too even, just bend it back a little bit more. And then I'm going to put on again, my dark purple Austrian crystal, my sterling silver bead, my amethyst stone, which is a nice hand cut stone. And then I'm going to put on my silver bead and then my dark purple amethyst. And so you can see here I've got 3 pieces, and so I'm going to take another 3 pieces that I'm going to have to add on to that, so I can just measure that out and cut that now. And again, I'm just going to try to get the little round link that's between the longer links of this chain and just cut that off carefully. And so we just hold it out, and then once I got a good grip of it without getting close to the other, I just kind of pull it and I just cut it off. And now I'm going to start the wire wrap on the other side. I'm going to bend it back, put the chain nose pliers, and then bend it back. And that leaves enough room for a wrap. And then I'm going to put my round nose pliers at the bottom of that edge and pull the wire all the way around the round nose pliers. I'm adjusting, putting the pliers now on the top part of the circle, and then finishing the wire around. And then once I have a nice circle, I will use first I'm going to put on the chain before I forget. And then sometimes I forget. And then I use the flat chain nose pliers to wrap my wire around. And I'm just going to go all the way around until it gets close to the Austrian crystal. And then I'll cut it off really close, as close as I can to it. And so if you have a little bit more space, just wire wrap one more time around just to give it a finished look. And then cut that off, the extra wire off. And then tuck that in with the chain nose pliers. And then you have this cute pattern that's going to look really cute on my wrist. And I did have a couple little extra pieces of chain there, so I will save that though for another project. I don't like to waste any chain. Oh, I put it on the longer chain instead of putting it on the chain I just cut the 3 links off of. So no big deal. I will save that little link for another project. Okay, I have 2 links. I do want to have 2 more, one more section next to here with a crystal and an amethyst. So I'm going to fast forward real fast and get back. So I'm back now, and I just finished wire wrapping the last crystal, and I'm just going to measure it on my arm. I think this is good, but my chain is a little bit long on both sides because obviously my links are pretty long, and so I'm going to have some extra chain, which is okay because again, I save all my chain. I will be able to use it, for another project. With no problem at all. So I'm just going to measure kind of how long I need for a clasp, and I'm going to cut off that extra piece. And if you always go too short, you can add links as well to it using a jump ring to make it a little bit longer. So, and I'm going to use a toggle clasp, but I think that I don't know if it's going to come off. This is kind of a looser toggle clasp. The toggle clasp is nice to have because it makes it a lot easier to get on and off. But sometimes they have a tendency to easily come off of your arm. So that's one reason why I like to use the different type of clasp. It's the, I don't know why I'm on a blank. It's the clasp that I use for all of my necklaces and chains usually. It's the lobster clasp, that's what it is. Like, gosh, I couldn't remember the name of it. I don't know why I was forgetting. Went on a blank there. It's been a long day working. And so I'm going to go ahead now. I measured exactly where I want to put this clasp here. And for this, I'm just going to use a jump ring. I have a very small jump ring, so I'm going to show you that. And you want to try to get a jump ring that's really half hard so that there isn't any problems. So as I'm getting this jump ring out, try to find a jump ring that is smaller in size because you have a larger, kind of like a not a lobster clasp, but the clasp that I'm using, you want to pull it through, and so you want a smaller jump ring to pull that through to connect the clasp, this toggle clasp. And so I'm basically just getting the two of these little tiny jump rings, and I'm going to open them up. And always make sure to open up side to side, not open up the area of the circle parallel. And so you just kind of twist it open. And then you're going to put the wire on, and you're going to put the toggle clasp on, and then you're going to close it. And just try to close it as close as possible. Again, if you have a 22 gauge or half hard, which means it's been already basically hardened, the wire gets hardened, then it's less likely to come open again and come off of the chain. So if you can find something that is a 22 or a 20 gauge wire, it's probably better, or half hard. If you can find one that will tell you that it's half hard, then you know it's going to be pretty firm link and it's not going to come off. So again, I'm just turning it side by side, and then putting on the link onto the chain and onto the toggle clasp, and then closing it back up, making sure that it is nice and closed. And I just sometimes by feeling it, you could see if it's, you could feel if it's sticking out or not. And then I'm just taking off my other bracelet that I had on so that it doesn't get into the way. Okay, so here is the bracelet, and basically I can do this easily with one hand, just slide it through, and it looks really, really cute with that toggle clasp. It's a little bit long, I think, so I think I'm gonna since it's really easy to just take those jump rings off, I'm gonna make it a little bit tighter. So that's one thing. Once you try it on and you're using a jump ring, it's really easy to take off the jump ring, and I'm gonna do it on the side that is the straight side, because it's a little bit shorter. I think that'll look really cute. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make that adjustment and cut the chain and then put it back together again. So I'm just gonna move my flat nose pliers out of the way, move a few pieces out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to, again, twist open this part of the jump ring, pull off the chain, and then I'm just going to cut down like 2 or 3 of these little links. Sorry, it's a little out of frame here. There we go. Just trying to grab the jump ring really fast. And then I'm going to hold it with my chain nose pliers so that I can easily put on the clasp and put on the chain. And then I'm going to close it up. And again, I'm just feeling to make sure that there's no rough edges. It should be very smooth. And then I'm going to put it back on. As you can see, the amethysts are so pretty. I love these amethysts. And you just slide that bar through the circle and you pull it through. And that's it. That's a much better fit, and that's going to work perfectly. I think that's a good look. I think this, you know, for right now, I'm just going to leave this particular toggle clasp, but I think I'm going to change it because I'm afraid it's going to fall off, and basically it's easy to just apply those jump rings, the lobster clasp jump ring instead, clasp instead. And so now I'm gonna make some earrings, some simple earrings. I'm just gonna try to figure out if I want it to look exactly the same as this one, or if I just want to have it hanging. I think I might make just a short wire wrapped top. So I'm gonna go ahead. I do like it how it's hanging off of the chain. I could do 2 like that, hanging down. But I think I kind of like the idea of just 1 stone. See, this is how it would look kind of with the chain. I could have it hanging down like that, which is a nice, look. Or I could just have 1. Or I can make like a kind of a hanging chain. I could also do something like that. Have 2 chains on one side and bring it up to the ear hook. That would, the ear. I'm gonna see what it looks like here just with the couple of beads. It looks pretty with just that. I think that would look nice, and I'll just have a nice style ear wire. I put it on without the silver bead, but I'm going to put the silver bead on. It looks more finished that way. And then I'm just going to, I'm using a very small 1-inch wire, so I'm going to make a very small circle on the end, but just bending that back, and again, leave a little bit room between the crystal so that you don't break the crystal when you're bending it back. And then you just use the round nose pliers and pull it towards you so that it curves around the round nose pliers to form a circle. And then after you have a full closed circle, you're going to just bend it sideways and put it onto your ear wire. Just adjusting it to make sure that it looks even and that the wire is closed here. Just makes a little bit of an adjustment. And then I will use a really kind of a fancier ear wire. It has like a cute little front thing on the front of it. You can see that little piece in the front. And these are sterling silver. And so I'm just going to twist it open and slide it on and then close it. Again, you want to make sure that you're not opening it the circumference of the circle, but on kind of like the opposite. And then I'm basically just going to do the same thing. Going to just take my 1-inch head pin, put on the amethyst crystal, put on a sterling silver bead, and then create the second earring. So as you can see, I'm trying to get the right size. I really want to try to get a amethyst stone that's around the same size so they look like they're the same length. And all of these are a little bit slightly different. So, you're just going to have to try to find the one that looks the closest sized so they look even. Okay, I think I found the one, and I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and then I'm going to put it next to each other and see how that looks. I think that might be a little too big. Yeah, I think I'm going to try a different one. I think the best thing would be to use a slightly smaller one. So I'm going to try this one on, and then I will go ahead and check the length again after I put on the crystal. Oh, maybe not. I think I might try this one instead. Okay, so now I'm putting on, oops, I dropped the little circle bead, the little silver bead. Okay, so now I'm just bending back the wire and going to turn the round nose pliers towards you to make the circle. Again, going slowly, not to bend too rough on the crystal, otherwise it might break it. And again, I'm just bending back the wire to make it even, to make the circle even, and making sure that I have a closed loop. Can't talk today. And then once I have a good closed circle on it, then I'll open it up so I kind of twist it towards me, and then put the little end that has a circle, a little loop on it, and then close that up. And that's a simple, very simple earring, but it looks really pretty. Really easy, simple, but beautiful. So now